method is active learning is about when you study the material and instead of passively just reading or listening to it, you analyze and recall that information. And a few practical studies have shown that using summarization, questioning, discussion, and practice and application, these help you remember all your information that you're learning better and more efficiently. So summarization is when you, after completing a lesson in school or in work, when you're reading over documents, you can summarize it and you can be able to recall that information. Questioning is when you look at the material and wonder what confuses you the most. What are you having the most problem with? And you those questions encourage critical thinking, which deepens your understanding of the study material. Discussion is an often useful tool with friends or with other companions when studying. This helps you converge all your knowledge and question other people about different knowledge that you may not already know. And this helps you pull together all the information and be able to collectively have a better understanding. Practice and application just when you practice over and over and apply that to real life. Is when you have a tough problem that you want to solve or a real life problem you want to solve, you can recall that information and be able to use that in actual life. A method in this is active recall. Active recall is when you study something like reading a passage. When you read the first paragraph, you stop reading and you try to remember as detailed as you can all the information that you just read in that passage. Sometimes when you're first going at it, you might only be able to remember the first or the second parts of that passage, and you think, oh, I'm not doing so great. I need to think more. You want to read again. That's fine. Just go back, read over that passage again, and then do it again. You just want to actively recall all the information you just read and try to piece together or write down notes and try to remember it better. That's for the first method. The second method I want to talk about is about management and organization. In time management organization, you want to have a well-structured plan to prevent procrastination and the feeling of overwhelmness. And here are some few tips, which is creating a good study schedule. A study schedule helps you piece out your time and then not overwhelm yourself and cause a burnout. Setting goals is also a tip. You want to establish a clear goal to help you study. These goals give you a sense of direction and motivation. And also to use your technology wisely. Don't always be on your phone when you're studying. And you want to reduce the amount of time you're on your phone when you're studying, but you can also use your devices to help you, like setting a timer or looking up information that you don't really know. But being on your phone and being on social media while you're studying is not a good way of using it. And you also want to give yourself some breaks and rewards. You don't want to always be studying for 2 hours straight and you feel overwhelmed and burnout. You want to give yourself maybe 5 to 10 minute breaks in between mini study sessions and give yourself a reward, like go eating a snack or taking a nap or just having a bit of fun and relax. A method in this is the pom, pom, Pomodoro method, or the technique, and that is when you use your time management and you set a timer for 25 minutes and you commit to studying with full concentration during that time. You don't like go on your phone or play or something. You have full concentration during that time. And then after that 25 minutes, you take a 5 minute break to just relax and recharge. You repeat this process over and over for about every 4 cycles. You take a 15 to 30 minute break, and that's a large break so you can fully take a rest and then just take a break. This helps you manage your time into small chunks, and this makes it easier for you to maintain focus. Lastly, I want to talk about variety in study techniques. Not everybody is able to study the same way. There's visual learners, auditory learners, and kinesthetic learners. Everybody is different. You want to keep trying and figure out what is best for you. Because not always visual learning might not be the best for you, but auditory might be better for some people. Visual learning, you can use diagrams, charts, and images to help you understand more complex concepts, and visual aids to help you make abstract ideas more tangible. Auditory learning is when you listen to audio resources such as podcasts or pre-recorded lectures. This method is particularly useful for auditory learners because they're able to listen and hear the information instead of just seeing it. Lastly, kinesthetic learners. Kinesthetic learners are able to incorporate resources and crafts into their learning. With crafting and using flashcards or conducting experiments, hands-on activities are more helpful for them to study. With these three learning methods, you're able to combine. Some people are not only one, some people may be multiple or all three study methods. And using these three different methods, you can combine different study techniques and create something that is uniquely to yourself and better for yourself that is not only one study technique. So you can use a diagram while also listening to lectures to help you for visual and auditory learners. There are also many other different ways of techniques, but for today, I've only listed three. So if you really want to focus on your studies and be able to better learn how to study better and to be able to uh, effectively manage your time and organization, you can always go yourself and figure out more information by searching online. So in conclusion, effective study methods are essential for everybody who to have a good learning experience. Active learning, time management, and organization are great techniques to improve your study habits. By applying these methods, you'll be able to learn more enjoyably, productively, and ultimately more successfully. So try to embrace these methods and learn at your full potential. Thank you.
Okay. Excellent speech from Tim. Now I would like to introduce our educational speaker, Renee Taylor. Renee has been a longtime Toastmaster. She previously served as an area director for District 43. She was also a county school teacher. In her spare time, she enjoys spending time with her family. Today, Miss Renee will bring us an educational session about project number 2 of the CC manual. Organize your speech. I hope those who have finished the icebreaker will pay attention today because you will get a lot of tips from Renee's speech. Now I would like to call on Renee Taylor for her speech.
Hello, Gavel Club. It's so good to be here with you today. I notice a lot of new faces in the audience, so forgive me if I'm not familiar with some of you all. So, good afternoon. I am Toastmaster Renee Taylor, and this afternoon I will be presenting to you Organize Your Speech. You all should have completed project 1. So now it is time to focus on structuring an effective speech. So before we get into the presentation, let's take a look at some objectives. First, you're going to want to look at selecting an appropriate outline. It's important to select an appropriate outline. Why? Because you want your listeners to be able to easily follow you. Thus, they'll be able to understand what you're presenting. Number two, you always want to make sure your message is clear. Xavier, why do you think it's important to make sure your message is clear when you're presenting a speech?
I think it is important so that your audience may know exactly what you're talking about and does not get confused.
Thank you for that, Xavier. Michael, what do you think? Why would you want to make sure your message is clear when you're giving a presentation?
When your message is clear, it's easier to state your purpose and also to convince your audience of what you're trying to tell them.
Well, Michael, I'm sure you gave a wonderful answer. Unfortunately, the audio was a bit low, so I could not hear that wonderful answer that you gave, but I'm sure you were right on target. I'm sure that we all wouldn't get in front of people and expect not to make sure our message was clear. Then what would be the purpose of presenting to an audience, right? Number 3, you want to use appropriate transitions. Horace, why do you think it's important to use appropriate transitions?
Because as you're wrapping up one point from one topic, as you're moving into the next, you can bring the audience along with you so that there was no disjointedness. It makes it easier to flow.
That is exactly right. You want to use transitions to move from one idea to the next. This will allow your audience to follow where you're going with your presentation. If you don't use transitions, the audience may get lost. And this is not what we want to happen, right? Lastly, you want to create a strong opening and a strong closing. You want to catch them in the beginning, and just like you're standing at home plate and you're the batter and that pitcher's looking you right down the line and he's going to give you that fastball, but you're ready. You're ready. Standing there with the bat and he throws the pitch and you swing and it's a home run. Well, that's the way you want your closing to be. You want it to be a home run. You want to hit it out the park, thus signifying that you gave an enthusiastic, well-organized, effective speech. Okay, now let's talk about the organized speech. Well, Anna, can you read bullet number 1 for me? Are they talking?
Yes.
Okay.
Bullet
We
number
may-
1, easy to understand.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Anna. In order to get an effective speech, you want to assemble your thoughts in a logical manner, which will be beneficial for your audience. When I say logical, part of being logical, you want your speech to be easy to understand. The purpose is for your audience to get something from your presentation. Well, if they can't understand you, then what is the purpose? It would be like you were speaking a foreign language and your audience didn't understand it. And that would just defeat the whole purpose. So let's take a look at the second bullet. You want your speech to be easily to remember. Why do we want our speech to be easy to remember? Let me see who I can call on. Jonathan, why do you think you want your speech to be easy to remember?
So that the audience can retain that message from that speech and to take it away.
Absolutely. You're right on. Third, you want to present a credible speech. Well, if I got up here 5 minutes before I was supposed to give the presentation, the speech would not be organized. I probably wouldn't know where I were going with what I were trying to present, and my audience would pick up on it. Thus, I would be a disappointment to the audience and myself. So if I did that, I wouldn't be perceived as knowledgeable because I wouldn't be believable because I didn't take the time to put together a well-organized speech. Lastly, you want your speech to be enjoyable. If I got up here like this, I'm Toastmaster Taylor. I gotta give this speech. Well, my friends, that is not going to go over well with the audience. Why? Because I'm not having fun when I come up there like that. And you want to have fun when you're giving your speech. You want your audience to be in it with you. Why wouldn't you? Otherwise, you would just be wasting your time. So now that we know some components of an organized speech, Let's take a look at topic selections. Where are you going to get this topic from, right? Well, you're going to have a topic in order to give an effective speech. Well, there are a number of sources or methods or various ways you can come across a topic. Now, let's look at number one. We all have conversations. You can have a conversation at school, work, grocery store, post office. That's a great place to get a topic to present your speech. Do we have any readers in the audience? Well, you might be at the doctor's office. You might pick up a magazine or a newspaper. Hey, why not get a topic from there if something captures your eye? Number three is my personal favorite, personal expertise. Why? Because if I'm an expert on something, then I'm going to give an effective speech because I know all about that topic. We had several Gavel Club members give personal expertise speeches, and they were awesome. And that just shows you know your stuff. And when you know your stuff, the audience is surely going to know, and they're going to be glad to sit there and listen to you. Lastly, from the time you wake up until the time you exit out the door, you're having everyday experiences. This is something that you can zone in on to give a speech on. How about that? Your everyday experiences. So once you got the topic all nailed down, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to move into your outline. And your outline should be assembled logically, just like making beef stew. You're going to have a way you're going to prepare that beef stew, right? So number one, chronological. Who do we have in the audience? Let me see. Is that Shirlena? Is that pronounced correctly? No?
Yes.
Okay, Shirlena, when we talk about chronological, just in your own words, this is a safe environment, no judgment here. What do you think we're talking about if you're going to prepare your outline chronologically?
It means that you have to prepare it in order so that the audience can understand it.
Yes, very good. Wonderful. Great. Thanks for answering. You're going to arrange it in a time sequence. Nothing special, just like Shirlena said. Then we're going to talk about the spatial way. Spatial does not mean in your own individual space. That's not what we're talking about here. When we talk spatial, any takers, raise your hand if you think you might know what we're talking about, spatial. I can't see the hands, so. Horace? Xavier, do you see any hands raised? No? Well, Xavier, what do you think spatial means? Just take a guess. No judgment here.
I would think spatial. Excellent question. I think spatial means. I'm not very sure.
Any helpers? I can see you all. Raise your hand.
It's like
Anybody?
the
Come on.
distance
This
between
is
each point you make.
Go ahead.
It's like the distance between each point you make, you want it to be orderly. But like you don't want to keep your points too close to each other, then it gets messy.
Way to use your root words in that. Very good. So spatial, we just mean direction. You're going to follow a direction. Thank you for that. That was very good. I appreciate you. So now we're going to talk about casual. This is not, hey, dude, I'm on the block casual. That's not what I mean when I talk about casual. When I talk about casual, we're going to show cause and effect relationship. Cause and effect. So casual, that's what we're talking about. Number 4, we want to move into comparative. We want to organize our speech comparatively. And we have some root words in there. I want somebody to take a guess what I'm talking about when I say comparatively organizing your speech. Come on, don't everybody jump on in at once. No judgment zone here.
Com likely derives from the Latin word cum, meaning with, and para, meaning equal. Therefore, you want your subjects to be compared equally.
I'm blown away. That was excellent. Somebody's probably done well on that ACT. So when we're talking about comparatively, simply compare and contrast different proposals or plans. Very good. Thank you for that, whoever that was. Topical. This is not putting ointment or lotion on your skin. That's not what we're talking about when we say topical. When we say topical, we're going to split the main topic into subtopics. Okay, everybody got it? Topical, main topic, subtopics. And lastly, problem solving. Well, I'm sure we all probably can take a good guess at problem solving. Here, we want to address the problem and a solution to the problem. When using this method, you want to motivate your audience to take action, right? So we have a problem, we have a solution. After completing your outline, you will need to develop your opening. In project 1, we learned that every speech has an opening, a body, and a conclusion. All right, so moving right on. Develop the opening. Have a good opening, please. And just quickly, these are what good openings look like. Personally, when I was young, your age, I like number 3, using display, because we didn't have all this technology that we have now. Yes, I'm dating myself. I'm archaic. I used the butcher board where you had to stand up there and flip the paper. I did. I'm sorry. You all have more means available to you now. So just take a quick look at that, and I'll just jump down to the last one, an attention getter, generalization. Get that audience's attention right up front. So you throw the fishing line, you hook the fish, you pull them in. Pull them in quickly, and if you can do that, you have them throughout the speech. All right, let's move on. We have good openings or strong openings. We have weak openings. Never, ever, ever apologize in the speech. Never. Don't start with an apologetic statement. Oh, I'm sorry for being late. Oh, my computer had technical difficulty. Don't do that. Number 3, never, like my husband Horace likes to do, tell an unrelated story or joke. He does that often. Stay focused on the subject or you're going to lose your audience. Horace is great with those long, slow-moving stories as well. I'm going to go to sleep if you're taking too long, so please don't do that. And lastly, we have that good old trite question. Horace, what do you think a trite question is? Okay, an example of a trite question is, did you ever stop to think? I've seen so many Toastmasters do this. Obviously, they haven't read their manual. If they had, oh, my time is ticking by. That couldn't have been 15 seconds that quick. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit faster. Once you finish that, you're going to go into drafting the body. You have a main part of speech that consists of 3 to 5 ideas. You're limited by time. So your speech is going to be 5 to 7 minutes. You don't want to go too quick. You don't want to go too long. Please stick to 3 to 5, preferably 3 main ideas, because you want to keep the audience's attention. Moving right along. Your subpoints should clarify what you're talking about. They should give emphasis, and they should prove the main idea. No, you can't present what you think is true. You can't present what you thought was true. We need to have proof. All right. Let me go on and get through this. So you need supporting materials to help your speech. You have statistics that's dealing with numbers, right? Then you have the testimony, like in church. Somebody gets up to the altar and they say, I have a testimony I like to share. And people start shouting. We do that in the Black church. But that's a personal story that you like to share, how you overcame some tragic event in your life. Then you can use examples, stories, or anecdotes. Again, that's a personal story. Love to use that. I love to use visual aids because it helps the audience follow you and understand where you're going. Lastly, those good old facts. Again, not what you think, because people can verify, they can check you. All right, so that goes along with your credibility. So after you've done all that good stuff I talked about, you are going to that nice, strong conclusion. This is your final opportunity to convey your message. You talked about your main points, which helped the audience remember what you had to say. You reinforced your ideas by backing them up by provable facts. And then you leave the listeners with a lasting impression. So there are type of conclusions. You have the summary, then you have the way to inform the listener, which is a course of action, which persuades and motivates. And then you roll into your final remark. That's going to be your challenge, your question, your anecdote, or your quotation. This is an example. Next slide. This is an example of what a speech outline looks at. As you can see, I cover all of those in my presentation. Moving right along. All good speeches should have transitions. They take you from the speech to the intro of the body, from the main point to the subpoint, from the subpoint to the supported material, from the supported material to the main point in the conclusion. Transitions could be words, phrases, statements, or questions. Here's an example of what these transitions may look like. I'm sure you all are familiar with them, and you've probably used several of them yourselves. To wrap it all up, what did we talk about in this presentation? Next slide. We talked about assembling our thoughts. Ideas are orderly. We organize in different ways. You want to choose a great outline with a strong opening. Your body supports your ideas, and conclusion reinforce your ideas. And then you want to use smooth transitions. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes my presentation. I thank you so much for your time and attention. And there are the sources you can go to. Thank you so much, Gavel. Mr. Toastmaster.
Excellent speech to Renee on conveying and organizing the speech. I would now like to call on Joseph for the table topic session.
Hello, everyone. It is the spooky season, right? Halloween is just around the corner. So today I will be asking some Halloween related questions. That'll be very fun. All right, let's get straight into it. First, I would like to call on Anson. What is your greatest fear?
Okay, I got this. Okay. So my greatest fear would be, is like we all have Asian parents here, obviously. So my greatest fear is to take one of those standardized tests and score really bad. That would be my greatest fear, since I want to get into a really good school, hopefully like top 30. So with a bad test score, no chance, guys. So my greatest fear would be to score, terribly on like something like the ACT or the SAT and go home and get like whooped or be disappointed. Yeah, that would be my greatest fear.
I can definitely relate to that, actually. All right, my next question is, do you enjoy watching horror movies? And that will go to Xavier.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Joseph. So I personally do not watch horror movies. I'm not scared of them. It's just not that interesting to me anymore. While yeah, back maybe a couple years, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, I used to like watching horror movies a lot, but they just stopped appealing to me as much as they used to. So I don't really watch horror movies anymore. But thank you for the question.
I do not. I literally detest horror movies, so I definitely agree with you. My next question is for is Owen there?
Oh,
Owen? Oh no. Okay. Are you going to go trick-or-treating? And if so, what are you dressing up as?
Okay, do you have to hold it? I'll hold it first. Okay. This year I will be going trick-or-treating. I usually go every year because I don't see I don't see why there's somewhat of like a taboo for high schoolers trick-or-treating because you get free candy and it's pretty fun. You can go with your friends. So I will be trick-or-treating and just like last year and the year before that, I'll be dressing up as an an avocado. Because one year I went to Target and I found this avocado costume for $11. So yeah.
Interesting costume choice, but I like it. I like it. My next question will be for Miss Anna Zhang. What is your favorite and least favorite Halloween candy if you do eat them?
My favorite Halloween candy gotta be chocolate candy, and specifically I'll be Snickers because I love peanuts and it has peanuts inside. And yeah, I used to get a big bag of chocolate candies from Costco. And during the Halloween season, I'll put it in a big glass bowl inside of and put on the bowl on my office desk, and quickly they're gone. So apparently everybody likes chocolate candy. I don't eat candies often, so Halloween is my cheat time to have some to indulge. My least favorite candy is the sour gummy kind of
Patches, yeah.
sour patches. Yes, probably that. It is just very sour and it doesn't taste good. The texture is awful. Feel like tasting a rubber. So that's my least favorite candy. Try to avoid it. If I have them, I'll not give them out. I don't want to hurt anybody else, torture everybody else with that. So I'll just throw it away.
Oh, I love.
You love it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll save it for you.
That's good.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you for your response. Okay, this next question will be for anyone who'd like to answer it. The question is, the concept of trick-or-treat can be seen as a metaphor for taking risks and facing consequences. Please share a story about a time when you took a risk and the impact that it had on you. Anyone can go.
Okay. There was this one time I went trick-or-treating with my friends. I think it was like 2018. So we went to this Chinese household. And like most Chinese households, they have these exotic candies from China. One day, I went to their house to trick-or-treat. I got one of these like red candy thingies, and then I just put it in my pocket, and then I saved it for later because I really wanted to try it. When I got home, I opened the packet, and then my sister really wanted it, but I said no because I thought it was gonna taste good. Because you know how like most Chinese candies taste good?
Yeah.
And so I put that in my mouth. That thing tasted horrible. It was disgusting. It was foul. I immediately spit it out. It was like a warhead, but like bitter. I'm never going to that household ever again. That's it. Thank you.
Nice response. My next question is, Halloween often involves confronting things that scare us, like at a haunted house, for example. Can you share a personal fear or a phobia that you faced and how you managed to overcome it? give this question to Roghov if you're there.
So I'm not really scared of too many things, but like most people, I was pretty much like scared of death because like I'm just like thinking, what will happen? Will I just be bored? But later on, I realized that, I mean, if I lived forever, that would be cool because like at one point, it would basically be like misery, like you couldn't move or anything.
Thank you for your response. My next question is for Mr. Horace Taylor. If you could have a meaningful conversation with a mythical or a legendary creature that is associated with Halloween, like a werewolf or vampire or a witch of, of some sort, what wisdom or insight do you think they might share with you? So it's a little funky question, but see if you can answer it.
Yeah, so I think if I could have a conversation with a mythical creature, I think about Michael Jackson when he transformed into a were chicken, right? He was dancing, and then all of a sudden his body started to go through these transformation, and he turned into a wolf. So I cannot think of a better mythical creature than to think of a werewolf. And I would ask the werewolf, where would I be 10 years from today? And that's just what I hope the werewolf would say. It would say, hey, Taylor, 10 years from today, you'll probably be 10 pounds lighter. I said, why so? He said, well, first, you will not go to any trick-or-treating for 10 years. So that automatically eliminates candy. And I would say to the werewolf, but Mr. Werewolf, I like candy. I like chocolate candy. In particular, one of my favorite candies is Snickers. Oh, I think that was Anna's candy. Okay, that red candy. No, I think that was a bad candy. Whatever candy is good, it's my favorite. I love candy, and I will eat werewolf candy for now until the werewolf goes away. Thank you for the question.
Thank you for sharing your story. I'll ask the green shirt. Yes. The green shirt kid? I'm sorry, I'm not good with names. Right, my question is, think about a time when you had to make a difficult decision that felt like a crossroads moment in your life. How did you choose your path, and what was the outcome?
Oh wait, is this like a Halloween question or is
No,
it?
it's just like
Just like
decision.
full life? Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing that I had to, it was like a big problem or like something that I had to choose between was to whether or not to wear my like wushu costume to like Halloween. And because like Halloween costumes are like $30 and I'm not trying to wear that or like I'm not trying to spend money on that. And because I like compete for wushu, I have a silk. I have multiple of them. So I just wore one of them. And a lot of people were asking me what it was. And I just explained to them that I was a ninja. And one house in particular, they said my costume kind of sucked and it was low budget. And so that's why I'm not wearing it to this year's Halloween. I don't know what I'm gonna wear. I'm probably gonna wear like a suit and then like hand out dollar bills. And then that's basically it. But if I had to like, or the one thing that I had to think about or choose between was whether or not to wear my costume or my wushu. So
Thank you for your response. I will ask Michael, is he there? Michael? Okay.
He went to the restroom. He's back. Actually, he's back. Like, how much time do we have left for the session?
Oh, we are a little out of time. Okay. This will be my last question then. Do you believe in superstitions?
Michael. No. Okay. As amazing as it may seem, despite my Joker demeanor, I'm actually quite a logical person. I have a tendency to overthink everything. A prime example of this is when I'm driving. For example, when I'm driving, I think of the worst possible decision any other driver on the road can make, and I anticipate that and prepare for it. My mom says it's unnecessary, but that's just who I am. As you can see, based on my personality, I am very unlikely to believe in superstition. I myself am an atheist or an agnostic, depending on who you ask, and I've never participated in any religion. So my whole life, I have been quite averse to superstition. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your guys' responses. I don't think we have any more time. But all right, I will now pass it on to Toastmaster Anson. Thank you, everyone.
I would now like to pass it on to our general evaluator, Xavier.
Thank you for that. So we are a few minutes over time, so I'd like to bring up our evaluator for Tim Zhu's speech, Mr. Owen Thane.
Tim had a great speech titled 3 Methods to Help You Study. And there's some things he did well, such as he had a very strong introduction. He used grammar very well. He organized the speech and divided it into 3 main parts that was digestible and easy to understand. He also gave specific examples, such as the Pomodoro method. He wasn't fidgeting or nervous, and he appeared very assertive and knowledgeable on the subject. However, there were some things that he could have improved on, such as pace, which was a little too fast. There were some pauses that made it a little disorganized, and he could have used some better transitions. So I think that he could have used strategic pauses between topics so that the listeners would be able to digest his speech more easily, and he wouldn't be giving too much information that would confuse the listeners. He could have used shorter sentences to vary his sentence structure because he was using a lot of compound sentences and it was a little complex. And he could have incorporated personal experiences, such as like an increase in grades after using a new study method that would prove the point and give supporting evidence for his speech. So there were a lot of things that Tim did well, but there are some things he could improve on. And I believe that Tim's speech was a very strong speech. Thank you.
Thank you for your evaluation. I would like to call on the timer for the timer's report.
Okay, thank you, Xavier. I'll begin with the prepared speeches. Tim had a time of 6:39, which is in time. Mrs. Taylor was 3 minutes 42 seconds over 15 minutes at 18:42. And now for the table topics. Anson had 43 seconds, Xavier had 33, Owen 36, Mrs. Zhang 134, the forbidden Chinese candy 104, Ragav 30 seconds, Mr. Taylor 130, the green shirt kid, sorry about that, 105, and Michael at 45. And Owen's evaluation landed at 121, which is under 2 minutes. Thank you.
So Owen had one filler word, one and used the word of the day at the beginning. Tim had one like and 4 and used the word Pomodoro. Renee had no filler words. Anson had 4 likes. Xavier had no filler words. Anna had 2 and 1 Quinn had 6 likes. Raghav had 3 likes. Horace had 1 Eric had 11 likes and 3 and Michael had no filler words. Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, next, I would like to address our question from Raghav, which was seen earlier in our speech, was, I believe it was for Miss Renee. What would be an example of an appropriate transition? Your mic is on mute.
Okay, there we go. Transition, for instance, or moreover.
Right, thank you. And now I would like to start getting our meeting rules selected for next week. So I took on Toastmaster, or I put in Toastmaster as the forms. I'll take Toastmaster for next week. So we need our timer. Anyone, preferably online, to be our timer for next week. All right, Mr. Horace Taylor, he has timer.